Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. You're watching In Deep on the Delta, and I'm going to do a bait review today on the Jackall Bounty Fish. That's what this little guy looks like, and I've had my eye on these things for probably about 3 or 4 months, and the first reviews that I've seen were right when they were coming out of Japan. They were all in Japanese. I couldn't understand what they were talking about. I knew it was they had an oddball little kind of piece of mesh in here. They look kind of interesting, but when I saw these things in the water, I thought, California Delta, here we go. This is going to be a killer out here. I haven't put a lot of time on the water with these yet, but I've fooled around with them enough to know that they have everything that I look for in a bait. Now, this is actually a topwater bait, and we're going to get into comparing them with some other baits. And actually, let's do that right now. Totally weedless, and I'll show you how these things, how you rig them up, but totally weedless, so you can throw these things anywhere that you can throw a hollow body frog. The difference is a frog has a frog action, kind of a popping type frog. This has a real dying bait fish type of action to it. Just a very slow, seductive moving through the water. You're going to see the footage that I have here in a minute, and you're going to like these things, believe me. So they have kind of, you can walk the dog with them, so they are kind of like a spook. They're not so erratic that they push a whole lot of water, but they do give you a nice surface disturbance, and you could walk the dog with these things. If you like throwing flukes or the big Magnum fluke, this is the Magnum fluke. This is the Jackall bait here. It's about a 5 1/4 inch bait, so it's big enough to entice the big fish to come in, but it's small enough to where you're still going to have a lot of fun with those 2 and 3 pound fish. Just the right size as far as I'm concerned. They are, like I mentioned, they're a topwater bait, but they push a lot of water because of these ribs on here, the appendages. So you can also kind of change these out with any of your smaller wake baits that come in and just make a wake on the top of the water. They have a really good presence on the top of the water, that wake and just that side to side motion that I think is really going to kill them, especially on days during the summer when you're fishing and there's just no wind, there's very little wave action, and the fish want something subtle where it's just, you can move them very slowly, you can move them very quickly. Like I said, you can bring them through, you can walk the dog, you can just stop them, stutter them back and forth, and they are just absolutely a cool bait. So this is the way I've rigged them up, and I've got one here somewhere. Let's see. Okay. I'll talk about how I rigged it, and this is the only way I fished it so far, and this is the way that I'll probably be fishing these things through the summer months. And I used this one I used a Trocar Mag Worm 6/0 hook. And let me pull this guy out so you guys can take a look at the hook. And so if you're not familiar with the hook, that's the hook that I've got in this particular bait right here. And you're just going to rig it almost like a Texas style worm. They've got a little notch in here. You can see where the hook comes through, and that makes it, again, totally weedless. You'll also notice on this bait there's a little kind of cone on the nose, so you can take that knot and the eye of the hook and bury it right inside of the head of this bait. Makes it extremely weedless. You can see that the line is coming right through the head of the bait. Extremely weedless. The first thing that you'll notice on this bait is this mesh fabric here, and that allows this bait to just back and forth in the water. That tail kicks, it moves with very little motion. When I've been working this bait, it's not a big pop, it's just a twitch, 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 stop it, and you'll get that very erratic movement on the bait. Really, even in just the slightest wind wave or current, this tail is going to move on you, and that's why I think it's going to be a great delta bait. The other thing that you'll notice on this bait is that you've got these ribs, and what that does is when you are walking the dog with this thing like a spook, it pushes water, pushes a lot of water, it gives a lot of vibration, it gives that a little bit of splash. Now it's not that violent back and forth action that a spook has, but just super subtle, you know, big fish want to come up and grab me type of thing. I don't know how to explain it, but really subtle, beautiful side-to-side movement, just like a wake bait, like maybe a Mikey Jr. or you know, another style wake bait with a big bill on it, but just not quite as violent. Now, another thing that these ribs or these appendages do here is, as that bait goes from side to side, when you stop the motion, we'll call it a twitch. You give it that little power twitch, and it's not really a power twitch, it's just a twitch. But when you're putting the power to it and you twitch it very lightly, that bait is just going to go about 2 or 3 inches to one side. And because of these appendages here, these ribs, they also not only push water, but they help to stop the bait. So if you are used to throwing a big fluke and you know you give it that kind of a little more of a pop, that fluke will go out a couple of feet and it'll walk way back and forth. This is not going to do that. In a lot of cases, that is a very good thing because it still has the action, but you can keep it in one place. If you throw it way deep in the slop and maybe there's a hole in whatever you're throwing it in, and it's only 2 or 3 feet deep, you can work that bait, pop, 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 and it's going to stay in that hole quite a long time. It's not going to drift out of it. So extremely versatile bait. What else would I like to say about this thing? Let's talk about what the cost of this bait. Right now, they're hard to find. I just went on the internet and there's a couple of bait shops back east that have these for sale, and they are for sale anywhere from $9.99 to $15 a package. They come in a package of 4. As far as I know, there's only one size, and that is a 5 1/4 inch. Man, I wish they made these in about 7 1/4 inches, because that would just be a big fish monster bait out here. So they come 4 in a pack, and it's called the Bounty Fish 158. I believe they're hard to find right now because they just haven't released them out here yet. Hopefully they'll be releasing them sometime around this spring, and you know, people like Jackall Warehouse will be picking them up and selling them. But right now they're hard to find. All I can suggest is going on the internet and scrounging around. Google up Jackall Bounty Fish. You might find a few of them. The colors that I have. This is a prism shad color. I like this color. And I also was able to get a package of the black. Now you guys know that I like fishing at night out here in the summer, and that black color is going to be absolutely fantastic after dark. It's also going to be a very good color first thing in the morning, you know, right when the change of light comes up, or right in the evening when it's going from light to dark, low light periods. That black is going to be a really good color. Now, one color that I haven't been able to get is, I think they call it a pearl or a white. That's going to be another one that you're going to want to try. So, and I think they only come in four colors, and I forget what that fourth color is, but the prism shad, the white, and the black are ones that I'm really going to be putting a lot of work into this summer. Okay, what else did I want to say about this thing? Let's take a look at what it looks like in the water, and I'll show you some of the areas that I fish this in. And you can see where it just comes through slop really nicely. You know, it'll pull over hyacinth, it'll pull over tules, it'll pull over duckweed, things like that, and then it just, you know, pops over and keeps coming. You can see the bait has a kind of that walk the dog action where it's back and forth, really seductive and very subtle. In the evening when you can't see the bait, you're going to be able to see the wave that this bait, the top water disturbance that this thing makes. And again, you don't want to be really putting a lot of power in that in your stroke on this. It's just a tap, 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 and work it very subtly. If you think you like what you see on this bait, you got to start looking for them now and trying to get a few packs of them so you'll have them during the springtime. I have a feeling that this bait is going to really take off when people get it in their hands, and they're going to be hard to find. One other thing I might say, $4, or excuse me, $10 for 4 baits is fairly expensive, but what you will find on this bait is that it is a pretty tough bait. Unlike the Bone Doctor or the Dancing Bone Doctor and the Billows Gill that you probably saw in the last review, those are 1 or 2 fish baits. I think this, you can catch probably as many fish as you would on a fluke, and because of the way you're going to be rigging these, you're not going to have a lot of the just nose hooked type baits where they'll pull the bait off. You're probably going to be able to fish this bait and get several fish out of each bait. I'm really excited to just wait for that water to get to be about 60 degrees, and I'm going to start fishing these things. So guys, thanks for watching. Tell me what you think of this bait. Let me know if you think I'm crazy, or if you think this thing has some potential out here. If you like the video, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and that's all I got, man. Tell me what you do on these things. Show me, send me a picture with the this thing hanging out of the mouth of a big fish, and thank you again for watching, and we'll see you guys on the water.